Greetings, beautiful beings, and welcome to the Breathing Bar. I'm Ahuvia, and I will be your bartender today and every day here at the Breathing Bar. And our focus today and every day when you come into the Breathing Bar is to explore the linguistics of the breath that comes through words, that comes through sentences. What frequency are you putting out in the universe when you speak? When you breathe, what are you communicating to the unseen, seen world? So there are many dynamics that we'll be talking about relative to the etheric realm of that unseen world that governs everything in this physical world. So this season, we are going deeper into heal your heart, heal your body. Within this dynamic, we're going to deal with rage. We're going to deal with your heart negotiating. And we're going to deal with the heart, brain, and energetic pulse and how to begin to gain control of your heart energy and how it's communicated to the world around you. Today, I wanted to go deeper into what we began to talk about last week, which was the heart negotiating. And one of the questions I asked was, what is your heart negotiating? Because all of our hearts negotiate, and these are terms that I kind of put together. And when I say heart negotiating, many times in different seasons, during different times when things are going on in your life, there are certain things that seem to come up in your heart center, or what I call your heart brain. And it comes up over and over again. And when it does, it's really strong. And usually it's around something that you may be going through that you have not found a resolve for. So it just kind of keeps coming up and keeps coming up, getting your attention. And then you continue to try to figure out how to address or deal with that particular situation. I call it a negotiation because during that time, it's like your heart's negotiating on something, meaning it's like, okay, we're bringing this to the table. Just like I talked about, we're bringing it to the table. We're putting it on the forefront. At the same time, you're figuring out how you want your heart to negotiate with it. Because many times a negotiation isn't a resolve. A negotiation is a back and forth, a back and forth. So your heart is feeling different ways, going back and forth, your emotions, how you want this negotiation to go, because you want your negotiations to go a certain way, especially those that are close to your heart. We all want our heart negotiations to go in a way that's pleasing to us, that's peaceful to us. And so now we're saying, okay, let's bring this negotiation to the table, this heart negotiation to the table. No longer leave it for chance. No longer leave it out there in the etheric realm, just floating around in your consciousness, not having any grounding or foundation so that we can really deal with it and bring it to a conclusion. Because at some point, we want all negotiations to come to a conclusion. So in this space of dealing with these negotiations with your heart, I talked about the heart having a brain. And many already know this, but the three brains in the body, the one in the head, the heart, and the digestive system. The powerful thing about the brain and the heart is that it has the largest electromagnetic force. So that means it radiates out and it can permeate and communicate on its own, and it can pull in information in a very powerful way, extending out from your etheric bodies long distances. I'll just say long distances. We're going to leave it at that. So when I say this, whatever your heart is negotiating, even if you don't want to bring it to the table, it's being brought to the table in the etheric realm. So that means when you walk down the street, your heart brain is talking and negotiating for you. You may not know it, but it's negotiating with other hearts that are around you. Because let's say your heart energy can go 3 feet, 6 feet. I don't want to give a number because people say stuff, but we don't truly, truly, truly know. But we know that heart energy radiates out. So if you're walking around people, by people, you all's hearts are communicating. How do you think a collective consciousness is created? A collective, it's a collective of consciousness that vibrate around the same frequency that become a very powerful force in the conscious and subconscious realms. So if your heart is communicating and those around you are communicating from a very similar frequency, whether you realize it or not, there's a communication going on and your heart is feeding on those hearts around you and vice versa. So you may, after being in the space with that collective heart energy, you may find 6 months, 12 months, 2 years down the line that all of a sudden you've become a different person, meaning you've negotiated from your heart space, and it may not be in your favor. You're like, hold on. A year ago, 2 years ago, this is where I was in my negotiation, and now it looks like I've lost everything. And many times it's just because you have not been an active participant. You have not been an active participant in your heart negotiations. And that's what we're here to do now. So the first thing I always say is, okay, to keep life simple, what are the top 3 things you feel your heart is negotiating right now? Whatever those 3 things are that's on your spirit a lot right now in this season, we're going to say right now, what 3 things is your heart negotiating? And then guesstimate how long it's been negotiating that, even if it wasn't in the forefront. But how long has that been on you, and how long have you been trying to negotiate it? Once you have those 3 things, then you can at least begin to be conscious with the other energies around you and how those energies may be affecting that negotiation. So when you talk about one of your negotiations and you say, okay, my heart is negotiating this. Think of in the matter of the past week to today, what has happened that has triggered that heart negotiation within you? So if something happened at work, when you were going somewhere, just in your thoughts, or just something you watched that caused that particular negotiation to come up for you. Because there are always triggers that bring things back to our attention, back to our attention, back to our attention. And it's important that we know these triggers, because then we can sometimes see them coming and be like, oh, no. I'm not dealing with you today. And you can start pushing these triggers away. Because in order to really negotiate what your heart's working to negotiate and work through and close out, you have to begin to gain control and know how to shift energy, recalibrate energy, block energy. But you got to be aware of it first. And you have to bring it into your physical conscious world. Even though it's unseen, what you feel is just as real. Really, what you feel is just as real, no matter how unseen it is. So we have to start understanding this etheric realm, this unseen seen realm, like I said, is what I called it earlier. What isn't said out loud is said out loud. Your frequency speaks volumes whether your mouth opens up or not. The unseen world, thought precedes substance. Thoughts create, manifest realities. So we're now bringing we're coming into our bioetheric nature, learning how to connect our 5 senses, physical reality, tangible, with that quote unquote intangible etheric realm. Because until you can bring both of those together, it's going to be difficult to negotiate what your heart wants to negotiate and find the balanced, holistic answer. Because you won't be strong enough, or your negotiation won't be strong enough to deal with those forces that understand these two realms. Because they'll always pull you out of your balance because you're not rooted as strongly as you could be if you understood who you really were in the etheric realm. So that's the topic we're going to delve into for the rest of the fall equinox. So last week we talked some about your heart negotiating, and this week we talked about name 3 negotiations you're working with on your heart now. We talked basically about the heart having its own brain, being able to function and communicate from that space. Your heart can communicate without your brain even knowing. So it doesn't have to go to your brain, or your brain doesn't have to communicate to your heart. Your heart communicates independent of, also inclusive of, the digestive system in the brain. So you have to begin to develop an intimate relationship with your heart like you've developed an intimate relationship with your brain. So I want you to think about that. We're not going to go into a long, drawn out, but I'm touching on things. I'm planting seeds or I'm watering seeds because it's important that we develop our bioetheric understanding of who we are as energy beings. And to me, as I said last week, the heart is the bridge, is the balancer between the 1st through 3rd chakras and the 5th through 7th. When you can find a balance in the heart, you can fuse that energy in either direction to create the balance you want, bridging the physical and the etheric realms together to give you a holistic understanding of yourself, which means you can communicate to yourself and understand what's going on inside of your inner verse. You know, we're so used to looking at the universe that we don't look at our inner verse, what we've been given, what we've been here to govern, those cells that are living organisms that communicate to us. So I wanted to go into that. I hope that these seeds will fall on fertile soil. And if you already have planted these seeds, I hope that the water, the nutrient that I brought will just kind of continue to strengthen our collective consciousness. You all have a beautiful, beautiful week, and we will talk at the appointed time. Give thanks. And again, thank you for coming to the Breathing Bar.